Good morning and welcome to another episode of Noah Knows, the science of health and fitness. I am your bearded bullshit buster and swoley scientist. It's the holidays, so we're going to talk about everyone's superpowered supervillain, sugar. All right, bud, so it's the holidays. What do you think that's going to do to your waistline?
Oh my gosh. You ever fill up a garbage can too much and then try to pull the bag out and pull the drawstrings?
Yeah,
it's going to look something like that.
It sucks to the side. You're struggling.
It rips on the way out. Yep, that's something like that's going to happen.
Okay. So, are you more of a sweets person or a savory person?
I like the sweets. It's funny. My girlfriend always says, opposites attract, because she likes the salty, savory potato chips and stuff like that, and I love the cookies, cupcakes, icing. She'll never think to get cake. That's all I think about when I'm thinking about it. Having a stay-at-home Thursday night party for myself, just one big Entenmann's devil's food cake. So sweet for sure.
Okay. All right. So we love sweets, and people love to hate on sugar. What is your perception of sugar? Good, bad? Like walk us through it.
I actually took I don't want to put them on blast, but I took a course or seminar or class or whatever you want to say about the negative effects of sugar, and they related it to having the same effect on your brain as cocaine. So since that class, because it was at a place that has a lot of classes that are informative, that are instructional, stuff like that.
Was it Rock Brainery?
Might have been. Might have been. And they made a case that sugar is just as bad for you as cocaine, or they said something along the lines of that. I don't want to make that exact quote from them because it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that, and that's something that shows whoever, and not to put anyone on blast here, any organization on blast, did not do their diligent homework on the subject.
And they weren't fans of the jokes that I made during the class when they said sugar has the same effect on your body as cocaine. And I'm like, yeah, but cocaine tastes terrible. They were like, what? I'm like, nothing. Carry on.
Carry on. Yes, there is a study out there that shows that, but again, it's one of those things. Correlation doesn't equal causation. A couple of things we need to note about this study is that it's not in human testing; it's in animal testing.
They did mention that. Yep.
And however, the effects are not identical; they're similar, and they only last as long as the consumption or the digestion of the product that you're eating, right? So it's something that it triggers the same part. It doesn't give you the same response. It triggers the same part of the brain like that, but then it's done, right? So it's easy to be like, see, point at it, but I mean, and that's largely the difference between dietitians and people who actually have PhDs in nutrition, or someone who is a dietitian and not a nutritionist will tell you that this is equivocally not true. This is not the case. It's a one-time, very weak evidence study, and the consumption of sugar is quite fine.
See, I do worry about it sometimes because I feel like I don't. Like, I'm not one to be like, man, I am craving a bacon cheeseburger from Applebee's or something like specific like that. The only time I do that is with a Hershey chocolate bar, just straight chocolate. I want just a straight chocolate bar. Random times of the random days. I don't think there's anything, consistent with, if I got up early, or if I worked out or didn't work out, or if I'm hungover or anything like that. But the only time I can remember specifically craving one exact thing is a pure chocolate Hershey bar. Nothing fancy, no Snickers with nuts, no Reese's, pure chocolate.
I'm glad you actually brought that up, and I don't have the studies offhand, but I can send them to you off screen. Studies show this with multiple food items. It's not just the notion or the placebo effect of, oh, I'm craving something. Food addiction is not real. However, in studies where people, like carb studies, where people could not eat any bread, actually showed that they wanted to eat bread more. This is simply like, I'm taking something away from you, so you want it more, right?
That makes sense.
It's and there's multiple studies I can reference that show this same effect.
So it's not a sugar thing. It's on more than just that craving. Because I thought that by mentioning that it's that quick satisfaction, that it might be directly related to sugar, but maybe not. Maybe that's just me.
Let's actually get into a significant study that a lot of nutrition scientists, professors in dietetics, so on and so forth, will cite. And it's called the Metabolic and Behavioral Effects of High Sucrose Diets During Weight Loss Study. Again, rolls off the tongue.
Right off the tongue.
Always off the tongue. So this study, what it examined was two things: weight loss with sugar, and then health with sugar. And now they broke people into two groups. The first group was only allowed to consume 4% of total 4% of total daily calories from sugar, okay? The other group got nearly 50% of total daily calories from sugar. Now, they controlled the diet, kept these people in deficit, but let's just talk about this. 50% of total daily calories from sugar. If we take the average diet of 2,000 calories, that means they were consuming nearly 1,000 calories straight from sugar. What do you think the difference between the 4% total daily calories, which I'll tell you right now, 4% calories ended up being 10 grams of sugar per day versus 100, right? In this study, it was 120 grams of sugar a day, 50%. The difference between the two groups.
To break it down so I can answer that question, and for people who are amateurs like me, what would be an example of calories from sugar? Are they just eating chocolate and icing all day out of a tub?
No.
Or like what would be an example of some of the things that the people who had the 50%, were in the 50% category? What are some things that they probably ate?
I mean, it could be a variety of things. It can be fruit. It can actually be high processed, and any form of sugar consumed.
I can't imagine. It has to be.
But let's just say worst case scenario, totally processed sugar.
Okay. Oh my God. It has to be every negative side effect in the book, right? Feeling tired. Probably because of the sugar crash or whatever kicks in. Feeling tired, gaining weight for sure. I mean, it has to be all negative effects if you're having that much sugar. 4% from 50% has to be. They have to look like the number 10 when they stand next to each other after the study.
So the actual results in terms of weight loss was identical.
What?
Identical.
Wait a second.
Identical, because remember, calories were controlled for. Equal calories from one group to the next. Just one took 50% from sugar and the other only took 4%, right? So, but calories were controlled for, and not only did they find the weight loss was identical between people who only consumed 10 calories a day versus 120, the actual fat loss, so the body composition, was identical between both groups.
So when people say too much sugar is bad for you, that study completely debunks that?
Oh yeah, it's not even
doesn't even have an effect.
When we control calories, it has no effect
on those two things, right?
Absolutely no effect. Now we make the argument, okay, like they lost weight. Okay, we'll look the other way on that, but they possibly couldn't have the same health markers, could they? Could they? I don't know. I mean, sugar's so bad. You tell me.
They shouldn't, based on everything that I learned growing up and what my dentist says. What did their dentist think about that study? They're probably like,
I don't know. But all right. So in terms of all health markers examined, they were identical. Identical. And like I gave you the study. You can go see this for yourself. This is a peer-reviewed, results replicated, confirmed by multiple other PhDs in the field study.
Wow. How is this not major news? That you, like, It's what you think about when you think of unhealthy for a complete novice, right? Too much salt, too much sugar. Maybe you go down to okay, this is too greasy, I shouldn't eat this, and there's probably a chemical built, a composition of that, you know what I mean? What is grease and all that other stuff. But these are the top things you think about: too much sugar, too much salt. And you're saying,
yeah,
as long as it's controlled,
as long as it's controlled, you're fine. So
wow.
All health markers across the board. So we're talking about inflammation, we're talking about blood glucose, we're talking about good and bad cholesterol. They did blood testing on these people, and there's more health markers than that, but they found them to be identical between both groups. Now, I can actually even cite another study offhand right now that was done just this year, which was a case study. So, and I will say, case studies are stronger than animal testing because case studies are human-based. However, case studies are relatively weak in terms of other studies because a case study is focused on one person and one person alone. So the case study of Ben Wiedus. So he is a bodybuilder who did the same thing. So he didn't do 50% of total daily calories. He just made sure that for an entire year, every single day. So we're not talking like a 10-week or a 12-week or just a couple months. An entire year case study, every single day, consumed at least somewhere in the range of 100 to 120 grams of sugar every single day for an entire year.
So that's around that 50% thing, right? On average?
No, not for him because he's a bodybuilder. He's a big boy. So significantly less than 50%. But still, I mean, in between 100 to 120 grams daily, every single day for a year. And what do you think happened to him?
Well, before you told me the last bit of information, I would say it had to be one of his worst years of his bodybuilding career or even life. But now that you told me the information from before, I'm guessing his performance either stayed the same or got better somehow.
It got better. It got better.
How?
Because he actually did his diligence and controlled for everything. So he made sure he continued to stay in a deficit, continued to stay active, and made the rest of his food from good options, nutritionally dense foods, right? So this person, and again, had his health markers tested afterwards, came back in great shape, right? But he actually lost fat and improved muscle mass. I forget how much weight he actually lost during the year, but this person actually improved his health markers for losing weight, decreased the amount of body fat he had on him, and was able to increase his lean body mass percentage on 120 grams of sugar every single day. Beat that into your head for a year.
So bring on the gravy, the sweet potatoes, the chocolate martinis this Thursday for Thanksgiving. Bring it on. Right? Is that what you're saying?
No.
That's what I'm hearing, baby.
No. I mean, again, I mean, both of these studies directly, I mean, and that's the operative thing, control.
Right.
Control. These are extremely high doses, but because they were still controlled to the people to make sure they stayed in a deficit, they were able to improve health and improve their overall lean mass and decrease body fat.
What it does prove is that just cutting something like this out really isn't going to do anything. If you continue to have the same habits and diets and just cut sugar out, you're not moving.
Absolutely. And I can actually also reference offhand another study here that is nutrition professor Mark Hobb, who did a 10-week case study. Again, case study, only one person. Over the 10 weeks, his diet consisted of nothing more than Mountain Dew, Doritos, Oreos, Twinkies, donuts, and kids cereal. Zebra cakes as well. 10 weeks. So he went for the worst of the worst, and he did ultra high processed sugar food diet, 10 weeks, and he controlled. What do you think happened to him?
Well, what I'm learning from this show, being on it and listening to it, is that as long as he's in a deficit, he's still going to lose weight.
Absolutely. Over the course of the 10 weeks, he lost about 30 pounds and again improved every single health marker.
Granted, he probably trained his ass off after eating those Fruity Pebbles.
I can't actually clarify whether he worked out or not. Looking at the study, it doesn't mention it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't. I think he just kept himself in a deficit because you don't actually need to exercise to lose weight if you're in a deficit. But controlled for his diet, I don't think he ever exceeded somewhere around like 1,800 calories a day. He ate multiple times a day to keep hunger at bay and just used portion control with everything. Portion control with everything, but made sure everything was ultra high processed sugar just to prove a point that sugar is not inherently bad for you and it will not cause you to gain weight or hinder any sort of performance as long as you control for it.
It's simple math. So 5 minus 5 is 0, but 5 minus 10 would be the -5, hence the deficit, hence losing weight. Something like that, right? To put it in simple terms.
Yes, absolutely. So, guys, do you still think sugar is the devil? What's your favorite snack? And more importantly, I want you to go into this holiday season and enjoy yourself and not feel guilty about your decisions, but just do it for the one day, the special holiday, and then get right back on track into normal dieting habits and active lifestyle. Thank you guys for being here with me. I love you. I'll see you on the next one.